Hi, this is Loki at SlapDash Videos, and it has been a proper long while since I've done any videos, I appreciate. I have relocated, so I've got a new SlapDash headquarters. Not gonna lie, a bit chilly, so you'll probably see my breath at times, but it's all good. I'll take whatever I can get. And today I'm looking at something a bit different to my usual cheap gadget tat that you've probably seen me cover. And I want to look at this book all about rave art, which is one of my massive passions. All things rave culture, absolutely love it. And yeah, this book will be covering flyers and membership cards, things like that. And yeah, and funnily enough, it's called Rave Art. So the author of the book is Chelsea-Louise Berlin, and Chelsea has a cool website that I checked out, which shows photos of flyers from the Sweet Harmony Rave exhibition, which is at the Saatchi Gallery, and that was in London in 2019. And she also had an installation there, so I do believe she had quite a lot of involvement in that exhibition. Among other stuff, I also see Chelsea's done another book called Tartar, which covers prostitute cards from phone boxes and also features some erotic bondage art. So you may be disappointed to hear that I won't be covering that today. Anyway, I'll drop a link to Chelsea's website below so you can check it out for yourself. So there's a really nice piece at the beginning of the book that covers Chelsea's personal journey into her discovering flyers, which crosses over from the UK b-boy hip-hop scene to the then emerging UK rave and club scene. I also wanted to mention the foreword, which is at the very beginning of the book. It's written by Mark Moore. It's basically like a summary of how flyers were distributed in the past, back in the day before internet and Facebook, etc. And the last sentence on the foreword I really like, so I'll read it out, which is, the flyers in this book perfectly capture the times leading up to, during and beyond the second summer of love, which brought forth those trippy acid house nights that we thought were never going to end, and in a way they never have. Like that a lot. So the book is broken into 4 chapters in the date order that the flyers feature. So chapter 1 is 1986 to 1987, so from the beginning. Chapter 2 is 1988. Chapter 3 is 1989, and chapter 4 is 1990. So a good date range from the beginning there. Yeah, so basically the book covers the beginning of rave flyers with that date range, which is a bit early for my complete expertise, to be honest, but I'm massively into flyers, and I've got my own huge collection, and I've been collecting flyers since 1992, so it's so up my street I've already bought a house. As well as wanting flyers for the love of specific promotions, designs and artists, the holy grail will always be for most collectors older flyers. Older flyers are also rarer, so their value will be much higher than the later 90s ones, and believe me when I say that some of these flyers are going for absolute stupid money. Just check out eBay. And due to the COVID lockdowns and people off work on furlough, many of the old ravers are always intended to sort through their big rave memorabilia collections in lofts and garages have actually had the time to do it at last. The rave groups on Facebook are absolutely booming right now, as everyone proudly shows off their paper gold stashes. So along with these once hidden collections finally seeing the light of day after, say, 25-30 years, the flyer market has never been so alive with such eye-watering prices. So some of the flyers I'm expected to see in this book are classics from these early dates, which would be, say, Sunrise, I'm thinking Biology, Apocalypse Now. They're some of the ones that stand out that were big in that era, big raves for that time. I am hoping to see some early Helter Skelter flyers, as they started in '89, so it just scrapes into the date range there. But unfortunately won't be seeing any Dreamscapes or Fantasias, as both promotions started in '91. Anyway, let's get into this. Right, so the first chapter, 1986 to 1987. And first flyers on both pages are all Limelight. And spotted straight away Groove Rider, drum and bass legend there, spelt Groove Rider in 2 different words. Must be an old school way of spelling it, because now Groove Rider spelt with 1 word. So yeah, quite basic designs, if any designs really. Sound clash, bloody hell, this is proper old school. Soul to Soul. Yeah, man. What's it say here? 1986. These flyers. Two sound clashes. Shock sound system versus Soul to Soul. So it is Soul to Soul, as in the band that you would probably know and heard of. Jazzy B and Norman J as well. Westworld 2 and Westworld 4 flyers. 1986, and some quite cool illustrations, like a Egyptian head. It looks like an Indian. Cool stuff. More Limelight, 1987, and this one's a VIP pass from 86 to 87, and another one from 86 to 87 is the library, a VIP room entry pass. So there's a mixture of flyers and membership cards. And on to 1988, chapter 2. So slightly more illustrations, it seems, on these flyers. Less basic as the 86, 87s. Apocalypse Now, I knew they'd make an appearance. Yeah, Apocalypse Now, really well known old school promotion. I saw their flyers in the electronic exhibition I went to at the Design Museum, which is great. This one's from 1988, and it is Tony Colston Hayter. Yeah, so he was a promoter for Apocalypse Now and Sunrise, maybe another promotion as well, or others. And he later was famous for going on to ITN News. There's a hilarious interview of him on there. He also later went to prison for fraud. I think he made like some fraudulent ATM card machine device and got done for that. And so yeah, went to prison. Don't know if he's still in there or not now. Have to look that one up. But yeah, very renowned promoter / criminal. A flyer based on a brand, not Tizer, Iron Brew. So this one's based on Iron Brew. There was a massive flood of flyers that were based on brands, and one of the most famous one would be Vibalite, based on the sunflower, but they put like white gloves on. Rage was really famous. I think Fabio and Groove Rider got famous from Rage. There's a Desire flyer, 1988. Don't know if that's the same Desire from the Drum&Bass 90s promotion. There's still quite a lot of flyers are rough basic designs. Look like there are still quite a few of them on paper. So not the glossy paper that we know that came later on with the futuristic designs in the 90s. Still finding their feet. Trip City and Rat Pack. So obviously the famous Lips Master Mark and Everson Evans would have been one of their first promotions. Cool. More Apocalypse Now flyers from 1988. God, some of these are well old school. Acid Party, Hippodrome, really famous venue in Leicester Square. Now this flyer seems to have the same logo that Fantasia later adopted, so I wonder if it's exactly the same. I'll have to check that after, but yeah, it looks very similar. Come and join the future, Fantasia. Admittedly, a lot of these promotions I haven't heard of because it's so early, but I did put my disclaimer out at the beginning. Right, already on to 1989. So some membership cards here for Karma Productions presents Bliss, Time Tunnel, Fun City from 1989. More Rage flyers. This is probably the first one in the book that I would say resembles like a more futuristic design that I'm sort of used to seeing for the later flyers in the 90s. And it's a Rage one. And DJ's Colin Favor, RIP Colin Favor. Absolutely fantastic, famous techno DJ that sadly passed away in 2015, I think. Tribal Dance, not to be confused with Big Love's Tribal Gathering, I doubt, which came later. Name that stands out is Adamski. Wow, old school name there. And they got Fabio, they got Easy Groove, they got Cole Cox, brackets is the 4-deck mixing. So used to be the 3-deck wizard, Cole Cox was known as before his IB for days. And yeah, the 4-deck wonder was G Real, who sadly passed away. But they had him on 4 decks here. Interesting. Sunrise. This is Tony Colston Hater again, from the same Apocalypse Now that I mentioned earlier. This, I think this might be one of the earlier ones. Quite basic design, but this has got the sun, which is the Sunrise logo. Some of these Sunrise flyers are going for silly money on eBay. Biology. Really, really famous old school promotions. Independence. Paul Anderson, Jumpin' Jack Frost. First time I've seen him on one of these flyers in the book. Back to the Future. Saw some of these flyers at the exhibition I went to, the electronic. Dreamscape. This can't be the Murray Beeston's Dreamscape that we all know. Must be one before. The Sunrise A Midsummer Night's Dream flyer. This is really well known. It goes for stupid money at the moment, and was even targeted by fakes. I think a few times now, some counterfeits, trying to sell it off as an original. But on the Facebook group, Rave Flyers and Rave Memorabilia, the experts on there, shout going out to Fat Media Dave. They worked out and exposed these fakes and helped stop them from being sold as originals for a lot of money. Holocaust flyers, 89, yep, heard of those. More Back to the Future as well, so really got some classics in here. Genesis, yeah, Genesis 89, this is a really famous old school promotion. Very renowned. One Nation. Wow, is it like Terry Turbo's One Nation? The drum and bass, yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, Fabio's on it, Groove Rider, spelt with 2 words. Paul Oakenfield. More Sunrise as well. Sunrise and Back to the Future, so brilliant. An M&M flyer, using well-known brands. Again, there was a flood of them later on with like washing detergents and Wrigley's and all sorts, and then you had all the t-shirts that came out as well. Labyrinth, the famous London Labyrinth. Yeah, man. Yeah, the flyer had, I think it's George Harrison from the Beatles on there, and they used his appearance. Brilliant. Energy, yeah, heard of Energy. Yeah, and this flyer's the more futuristic design. Looks like the sort of futuristic designs that the made on an Amiga or something. I love it, sort of rawness to it. It's like the flyers from like about 91 to 93 is my preference, because they had like a really futuristic unusual designs, but then they didn't actually explain what they were, so you had to sort of be in the know to know what they were. And obviously when you turned them over you could see the lineup and the time and the venue. But later on they started slapping loads of wording on the front of the flyers, which sort of ruined it and, you know, made it so obvious of what it was. But it was like a bit like a club that you had to go into the record shops and you could have a look at the flyers, and just people who were in the know knew what they were, you know. Fantasy and Atmosphere. Yeah, these flyers, what, 89? They're starting to look more like 1990, so you can see the influence of like fantasy types, hence the name, and futuristic sort of designs that they later come in. This Humanity's a good example of that, what I'm talking about. Biology, this is a membership card, probably worth quite a lot actually. The membership cards do go for, and the VIP cards go for quite a bit. They've got their own sort of niche market going on. World Dance, yes, more familiar territory for me. That's the predominantly drum and bass promotion, although they did used to throw a load of happy hardcore DJs in, which would amuse me. Helter Skelter, I knew Skelter would make an appearance. In 89, so yeah, probably one of their first flyers. I've got one that's similar to this, and I think they re-released a very similar design, because it certainly wasn't an 89, and it's probably worth a bit. last chapter 1990. So this will probably have more designs rather than the basic sort of paper flyers, I'd imagine, from the 87, 88. So there's a dreamscape here. Don't know if that's the same. Oh yeah, I think this is. Well, this is Eternity Promotions, and ESP Promotions is Murray Beeston's, who sadly passed away. A legendary promoter. Freedom to Party. I've seen this flyer. This was actually for an event, some sort of protest for, what's it say, the new anti-party laws. So if that's, what's this, 1990, so the Criminal Justice Bill came in 94, so take it that would be either a new law at the time or forming for the Criminal Justice Bill to come in, which there was many protests and rallies on that. Dance Party, seen this, yeah, this was in the exhibition, the electronic exhibition I went to, so I think it's quite rare, and it's got Fantasia, and it is spelt with a Z instead of an S, so I don't know if that is the famous Fantasia. Chris Perkins, promoter, owns the Crazy Mansion House. He's more famous for nowadays. Perception. Now, if this is the Perception I'm thinking of, like in the days like with Vision, sort of early 90s, this might be one of the first Perception flyers, 1990. Wow. Cat in a Hat. Hilarious. Telepathy. Yes, famous Drum&Bass promotion. Quite a rough one it could be. You have to watch yourself a bit, like in Amazon and Roast. Yeah, proper Drum&Bass, heavy crowd. But yeah, not one for the faint-hearted. Another Telepathy flyer. Yeah, bit more basic with the hand logo that's famous for. It's definitely the Telepathy I know. And that is it. Brilliant. So my final verdict is it's a great book that pretty much showcases the origins of rave flyers, and it also includes all the big early rave promotions from that era. Admittedly, I wasn't that familiar with many of the flyers in the book, as the years that were covered are a bit early for my knowledge.
You can't help when you were born, Loki.
Exactly, and that also goes the same for the these early lineups as well, although I did spot plenty of DJs that are now famous in the scene today. I really enjoyed seeing the evolution of the flyers from the very basic designs on paper that later progressed onto the more known futuristic and fantasy landscapes that are more iconic now with electronic dance music scene. To summarise, rave art is a must for any rave fly collector or enthusiast, as it really documents the main physical promotional tool of that time before the digital age and the internet. As always, subs, likes and comments on my videos are always appreciated, so far away people. Anyway, thanks for watching, stay safe, Loki out.